Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is @ThePaddyPower, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather, or the gym.
Yes, it's back. The waiting is finally over. The 2018 Football and Hurling Championships return this weekend. Hello and welcome along to the first GAA Anti-Post preview postcast of the season. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and I'm delighted to be joined by Damien Fitzgerald from our sponsors Paddy Power. In part 2, when we'll be looking ahead to the Hurling Championship, we'll be joined by Kilkenny legend John Tennyson. But before then, to look ahead to the Football Championship, we are joined by the man who caused this utter carnage.
It's all over. Meath have snatched this game. A case of daylight robbery because Louth had it. Louth should have won the game, but they haven't. They go to the referee, Martin Slodden, to ask him to consider this shouldn't happen. That is disgraceful.
This is outrageous.
That is disgraceful.
Yeah, there's been an attack on the referee there. That's totally uncalled for.
Disgraceful.
Outrageous and disgraceful. Yes, of course, it is the most hated man in Louth. It is Meath legend Joe Sheridan. Joe, how are you?
Great, thanks for reminding me about that. But yeah, all's good.
Well, Joe, if you didn't have that, nobody'd know you at all.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm infamous rather than famous anyway. That's the main thing. So,
well, the only thing is, the bright side of all this is you picked the smallest county in Ireland to do it against, so it could be worse.
Yeah, well, don't say that too loud because they might just gang up on me again and take it out on me. So I'm not going to agree with that one.
Yeah, of course, that was Joe Sheridan scoring that infamous goal against Louth in the Leinster final all those years ago. But now he's a hugely successful GAA tipster, so that's why we've got him on for this podcast. And Damien, how are you? How is your 2018 punting going so far in the GAA scene?
Not too bad so far, but I suppose the main bit is yet to come, so we'll see from now on. Hopefully we can get a few winners today and for the championship.
Now, before we get stuck into the tipping, Joe, first of all, we're just going to come to you. Obviously, there's a new structure in the GAA Championship this year, and the football especially is going to see big changes. Do you think it's going to work?
I'd like to think so. Yeah, the more games in the championship teams, I completely agree with, and you know that they obviously have to start from somewhere with the Super 8s, and a lot of people are saying it might just create an elite group, but I think it will push teams to try and compete to the highest level, especially through your provincial section, because it's probably down over the last couple of years. The provinces haven't been as strong, and probably a lot of teams are probably looking towards sort of quarterfinals and then through the qualifiers. So hopefully it'll get a lot more competition throughout the championship, and obviously you're going to get a lot of high quality games then come Super 8. So you're probably going to have you have 5 or 6 teams that are going to be there, but you're going to have them teams that are going to be competing to try and get into the top 8 every year, which I'm looking forward to, and it should be exciting.
And Damien, from Paddy Power point of view, from a bookmaking point of view, I suppose when we get to the 14th and 15th of July for the first phase of the Super 8s, I presume this is going to be a whole new level of punting. Like, punters do want to bet on the big games, and from the middle of July onwards, you're going to basically have the best 8 football teams in the country battling it out, and that can only be good from your point of view, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly, David. We'd be hoping to get a good bit of turnover on that. Like, when you see, as a fan of any sport, you want to see the best teams playing against each other, and that's what we're going to get in the Super 8s. Like, and whoever wins the All-Ireland this year, they'll deserve it. There's going to be no easy draws through to an All-Ireland or something like that. You're going to have to come through a group, a semi-final and a final. So whoever wins it will absolutely deserve the All-Ireland, and we'll get a lot of games. We'll get a lot of big occasions like maybe Dublin and Kerry or Castlebar or something like that. So it's something to look forward to, definitely.
Okay, so while we're on the Super 8s team, Damien, rattle off some Paddy Power prices on counties to reach the Super 8s.
Well, to reach the Super 8s, we've Dublin at 1 to 500, Kerry 1 to 20, Mayo 1 to 3, Tyrone 1 to 3, Galway 4 to 9, Roscommon 1 to 2, Donegal 4 to 5, Kildare 6 to 5, Cork 11 to 8, Monaghan 11 to 8, Tip 7 to 4, Meath 11 to 4, Armagh 7 to 2, Cavan 9 to 2, Down 13 to 2, Derry 15 to 2, and then Clare and Westmeath at 9 to 1, and that's the big teams you'd be expecting, I suppose.
Joe Sheridan, this is a cracking market. I love the fact that obviously it's a new structure and there's so much value there from teams, obviously odds against potentially, that could reach the Super 8s. And every year we get to an All-Ireland quarter-final and there's teams in it that at the start of the season you say, God, how would they have any chance of getting there? Is there any team in those prices that kind of says to you, God, they could go far this year?
Yeah, absolutely, Leo. You've obviously got your main 5, 6, Dublin, Kerry, Mayo, Galway, Tyrone. I think Roscommon are a bit short at 1 to 2. I'd be looking at like some Monaghan at 11 to 8, Tipperary 7 to 4. But even one I fancy if they got a good run, have a nice run into an Ulster final, maybe if they can beat Donegal, is Cavan at 9 to 2. They have a lot of good young footballers, and they've probably been progressing over the last couple of years. And that'd be one now I'd have a sneaky little bet on now if they reach the Super 8s at 9 to 2.
Yeah, it's funny, maybe Great Meath men are thinking alike, but that was the one price that stood out to me as well, Cavan. I seen them against Meath in the league, and lovely forwards, and they seem to have adapted to a new kind of more positive style of football. Damien, any bigger prices that might tempt you in?
I think Tape at 7 to 4 are a good price. Just a couple of bigger prices. I think Clare at 9 to 1 and Longford at 11 to 1. Maybe should be send Longford to 2 Meath men now with them first round up in Championship. I think they're two teams that if they got a good draw through the qualifiers, they definitely could get through to a quarter final. So two at bigger prices, Clare at 9s and Longford at 11s.
And before we move on to the provincial championships, Joe, just from Meath's point of view, I suppose obviously Damien is tipping Longford to go far, and there's a lot of Meath people fancying Longford to beat Meath in the first round. Are they mad?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're mad. They're allowed to have their opinion on it, but I just think Meath will have too much for them on the first day. Meath haven't probably progressed this year as they would have liked it from last year, trying to get promoted into Division 1. So a few lads have dropped themselves off the panel, but I wouldn't worry about that. They have enough quality around the squad in the county to be able to. Longford have had a great league, and they've moved forward, and they will fancy their chances down in Longford as well. So it'll be tight enough. First round is always tight to see where you're at, but I think we'll have just enough, and hopefully try and get some sort of momentum going into the Leinster Championship.
Sorry about that now, Damien. Your Super 8's bet is already looking dodgy even at this early stage.
They can come through the qualifiers.
They can. That's a good way of thinking, all right. So moving on to the provincial championships. Right, lads, we want to know who wins each province. So unless you fancy something bonkers, first of all, do Dublin and Kerry win the Leinster and Munster championships? Damien, in a word, yes?
Yes, but I think Tip at 13 to 2 to win Munster are a price I might have a bit of an interest in. I just think they'll have both games at home. They'll have Cork at home, and then in the final they'll have Kerry at home. One thing you'd say about Tip is they can score a lot of goals. That Kerry defence looks poor to me and looks like it'll let in goals. So I think it's worth taking a chance. I think they'll beat Cork anyway, and then in Kerry at home, I think it's going to be as good a chance they'll ever get to win the Munster. So I just have an outside chance. Kerry are obviously the most likely winners, but I'd give Tip an outside squeak in Munster.
Wow, there was 2 minutes I didn't expect to be hearing about Tipperary to win the Munster Championship, Joe.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. When you look, I fancy Tipperary Cork in the semi-final, and if they can get Kerry on a bad day, they could have a chance. Unfortunately, as the Meath man, I can't not say Dublin. They're just so far ahead of everyone in Leinster at the minute. So, I'd have to agree.
And Joe, who's the second best team in Leinster at the moment, do you think?
I think at the minute it's probably Kildare. It pains me to say it, but it is. They have some very good footballers. Young Feely at midfield, and even from the forward line, they're very good from midfield up. And there's some exciting players. And Kildare probably would be the second strongest team in Leinster at the minute.
Okie doke. So now the two more competitive provincial campaigns. Damien, first of all, just give us some prices on the Connacht Football Championship, please.
The Connacht Championship is 5 to 4 Mayo, 2 to 1 Galway, 5 to 2 Roscommon, and 33 Sligo.
Joe, this is obviously more open. It looks like a 3-horse race. Obviously, Galway have made giant strides this season. Mayo are still clinging on to favouritism, but there's a few shrewdies that are on Galway to win the Connacht Championship at 4 to 1, with yourselves, Paddy Power, Damien. How do you see Connacht going, Joe?
Yeah, I'd be on the Galway bus now, to be fair, because I think they're a team that over the last 3 years have really pushed on, and Kevin Walsh is a fantastic manager, and he's probably got them now. If you see them during the league, drew with Dublin in the actual league stages, then just, probably didn't perform as well as they probably could have on the day in the final. So they're there or thereabouts. I think Mayo, I know I've been saying it for a number of years that they're on their way out, but I just think they will struggle this year. They probably don't have as much young talent as Galway, so I'd fancy Galway at 2-1 to win the Connacht Championship.
Damien?
I think the value is Roscommon at 5-2. Like, I'd back Roscommon at 5-2 to beat either Galway or Mayo. I think they're a good side. They got promoted very easily from Division 2, so I think at the value, because they're in the final, Roscommon at 5-2.
Well, I don't think it's value now, because they're obviously 5-4 to win Connacht, but this Mayo team needs to beat Galway in a Connacht Championship match. The recent history is obviously very bad from a Mayo point of view, and you can, rather than backing Mayo at 5-4 to win the Connacht Championship, you can back them to beat Galway -1 at 11-10. And if you're obviously they have to beat Roscommon as well to win the Connacht Championship, I thought that was the bet, maybe -1 against Galway. I don't think this Mayo team has gone at all, and I think the prices at the moment for the Mayo-Galway match are too close together, but I am in a minority because everybody seems to be in the Galway camp. So moving on then, obviously the only championship that's left is the Ulster Championship, which is usually the most competitive of all the championships, but in previous years, obviously last season Tyrone were very impressive winners of the Ulster Championship. Damien, some prices on the 2018 Ulster Championship?
Well, the big three: Tyrone 5-4, Donegal 3-1, Monaghan 9-2. Then you've Down and Armagh 11s, Cavan 14s, and 25s there.
Damien, we'll start with yourself here.
I think this is a bit of a cop out, but I think whoever wins Tyrone Monaghan wins it. I give Monaghan a chance in that game, so maybe just a little bit of a bigger price, 9-2. But I think whoever wins Tyrone Monaghan game is going to win Ulster.
And that will be Tyrone, obviously. Joe?
Yeah, I was just looking there, like Tyrone Monaghan first round. It's going to be a tight game. I think Tyrone will come out on top there, and it all depends on how Donegal are faring this year. I heard there was a bit of an unease in the camp with Donegal over the last couple of months, so I wouldn't be surprised if Cavan can put it up to them in the first round. So if they can, I can't see them beating Tyrone anyway in the final. Either or Donegal or Cavan beating Tyrone in the final, I can't see it. So I'd be going with Tyrone to win the Ulster Championship.
And what price are Tyrone, Damien, again?
5-4.
5-4. Okay, 5-4. Tyrone to win the Ulster Championship, and I have to say I think Tyrone are by far the best team in Ulster at the moment, but I am a founding member of the Tyrone fan club. So moving on to the big one, lads. The All-Ireland Football Championship. Obviously Dublin have dominated the All-Ireland in recent years. And Damien, what price are they to continue their domination?
They're 4-6 Dublin, and then we're 5s Kerry, 15-2 Mayo, 10s Tyrone, and 14s Galway, and then 28s Bar. So that's top 5.
Right, Damien Fitzgerald from Paddy Power. 4-6 Dublin. Value, yes or no?
Yes. I just looking through the list of teams here, I struggle to see who can beat Dublin. I think Kerry, as I was saying earlier, I think their defence is a big worry, and Mayo, they've had so many chances. There could be a hard enough road to get back towards the final, and then I don't think anyone else can beat them even on their best day. So 4-6 for me is a bit of value.
4-6 is value. Joe Sheridan, you're not afraid to get stuck into a short one. I've seen you at Galway over the years, and if there's a Dermot Well 4-6 favourite in the maiden on the Monday night, you're not afraid to get stuck in. Will you be getting stuck into Dublin at 4-6?
No, I'd have more faith in Dermot Well than a full 6-month championship at 4-6 with Dublin. I just think it's too short. There's too many variables throughout the year that might happen. Injuries, suspensions, loss of form. I just can't see. I wouldn't be taking 4-6 with Dublin. No, I'd be looking somewhere. I really fancy Galway this year. I think they've really come on. I think the players are really stepping up to the plate. The likes of Damien Coleman and these boys. That, like, if Shane Walsh can go back to some sort of form from his first year and start bringing that into the championship this year, I think they're two of the best footballers in the country. And if they can really get fire, I think they'd have a great chance. And obviously Dublin, they are the best team in the country. But I just think, Jim McConnelly maybe not playing this year. Conor Callan talking about maybe going playing hurling as well. Bernard Brogan out, as these type of players, you know, the older lads like Paul Flynn, you know, I know Philip McMahon is still a serious athlete, but he's still going on a year that, you know, do they still have the drive and the want to win All Ireland? But it will be interesting, and it like as a mean man, I'd like to see someone not Dublin off their perch, but it will be hard, and I just think Galway at 14s, I think they're a great price.
But Joe, is that not just recency bias? Because we've seen them in the league, we've seen them get to the Division 1 final, and like if it was a horse race, you'd see them finishing second in a race with a lot of non-triers. You've got Mayo, who obviously are not a league team. You know, Tyrone started the league slowly. Donegal were poor. There was a lot of teams in the league that obviously were just trying to progress. There were blood and new talent. And then we see Galway, they got to a league final. Are we not reading too much into their league performance?
No, I don't think so, because over the last couple of years, their form has been there. You need that bit of experience over the last couple of years, and you know they've probably got beaten in games that they probably shouldn't have, and that's probably their youth and experience. So I think that the couple of years that they've had, you know, they'll be well experienced going into this championship season. And you know, I think, as I was saying, Kevin Walsh, I think he's an incredible manager. He'll have his players right, and he just knows exactly how to get the best out of his players. You know, obviously with Kerry, I think there's too many young lads coming from the minors and under 21s that are going to have the blood in to make the team successful, and that's probably going to maybe take till next year or the year after. You know, Tyrone, you know, they'll be there or thereabouts, but will they get to the final? I can't see it. Mayo, as I said, I think they're just probably on the wrong side of it and going down the other side of the hill. And I can't really see anyone outside of that competing in the championship, in the All Ireland Championship.
Okay, so it's a confident vote for Galway from Joe Sheridan. Damien, looking at Tyrone, obviously last season against Dublin was a disaster in you know, when everybody was thinking they were the team that were going to be really, really tackling Dublin, and they fell apart. But it is worth noting just how easily they did win the Ulster Championship. You know, they won the final against Down by 8 points. They hammered Donegal by 9 points in the Ulster semi-final, and they beat Derry by 11 points in the Ulster semi-final. Are they not the coming team now with Lee Brennan in there, a proven, you know, proper point builder? Add him to the likes of Niall Sludden, and they've just seemed to be a team to me that are just ready to make the next step. I just sing from the same hymn sheet every year, or is this the year where Tyrone do make the breakthrough?
I think I'm actually going to join the fan club here a little bit, Dave. Yeah, I think.
Come on, Damien. I knew I'd convince you.
If I was going to have a bet in the All-Ireland outside of Dublin, I think Tyrone would be the ones I would want to back each way. I think they're just a very, very solid team. Lee Brennan is a big addition. He's just a class inside forward, which they haven't had. Apart from the Dublin game last year, which is a big thing, I know, but they were the most impressive team in Championship. I just think, I'm not sure they'll win the All-Ireland, but I can definitely see them getting to a final.
Yeah, I certainly can as well. So gradually I am convincing Damien Fitzgerald that Tyrone are a coming force. So moving on to the other markets in the All-Ireland Championship, the Footballer and Young Footballer of the Year. Now I know the Young Footballer of the Year market is a little bit dodgy because nobody really knows the terms and conditions, but Footballer of the Year, always a really interesting market, Damien, and can we have some prices please?
Yeah, well, I suppose unsurprisingly Dublin players dominate our top three. Kieran Kilkenny is our favourite at 15-2, Brian Fenton 10-1, Conor O'Callaghan 12s, Geaney at 14s, Dean Rock at 16s, Damien Comer at 16s, and then you have James McCarthy, Paul Mannion and Lee Keegan at 20s.
And Damien, who has been the most popular in this market since it was introduced?
Kieran Kilkenny is our favourite at 15-2, and he's been very popular, and you can see why. He was very good all through the league. Compared to the last few years during the league, he seems to have added a bit more scoring to his game, which will definitely help his chances of Footballer of the Year, and I think he's a very, very solid favourite at 15-2, and he has been popular all through the league.
And is this one market where we should be looking for huge prices and somebody to come in from the long grass? Or do you think somebody like Kieran Kilkenny, who's a proven performer, who catches the eyes of the judges, so to speak, do you think he's probably the better option from a punting perspective?
Yeah, it depends which way you look. Like, I suppose if we were sitting here this time last year, I think Andy Moran would probably have been a very big price. So there is definitely value if you can pick it out. Like, and someone lower down in the list is going to have a good year. A Dublin player hasn't won Footballer of the Year for the last couple of years, so that might be just an angle. Even if Dublin do win the All-Ireland, there's no guarantee they win Footballer of the Year. But I just think this year Kieran Kilkenny is very, very solid favourite at 15-2. I think even that might be a little bit big. I like his chances a lot.
Joe, are you a Kieran Kilkenny fan?
Yeah, look, he's such a consistent performer, and he always plays well. Never misses a game, and like his touches during the game, I know it frustrates a lot of people, but to have the engine he has and to get around and do the work he does, he can literally do everything on the pitch. So he's he's obviously a worthy favourite. You've got to look, obviously, whoever. I know, unfortunately, Dublin haven't won it over the last couple of years after they've won the All-Irelands, which I think is wrong, because probably they did deserve it. You know, Stephen Cluxon probably deserved it 2 years ago, and it was very tight, obviously, with James McCarthy and Andy Moore last year. But I'd be looking at the likes of sort of, because I fancy Galway, I'd be looking at the likes of Damien Comer at 16-1. He's a goal machine. He can win games on his own. And that's the thing. It's a standout with the Player of the Year. What can you do in a special game? What can you do to get the public looking at? And that's what it is. A lot of public perception. The media build it up of, you know, if a player does this, a player does that. And that's a lot surrounding the Player of the Year. So I'd be looking at someone like Damien Comer if Galway get the All-Ireland final, or if they win it at 16-1. I think it is a nice price.
Okay, so Joe Sheridan is throwing all his eggs into the Galway basket with Damien Comer for Footballer of the Year. The two that I'm going to throw into the mix, I thought Jack McCaffrey looked big at 33-1. Again, with Dublin, if they do go on to win it, surely they're going to have to give it to a Dublin player on this occasion. And again, Cluxton at 40s, didn't even get an All-Star last year, which I thought was a disgrace. And I have to give a shout out to my old friend Niall Sludden, 50-1 for Player of the Year. Some year it will happen. Maybe he can complete the double. Tyrone and Niall Sludden to be Footballer of the Year. Now moving on to the Championship top scorer. Always a 2-horse race. Damien, what's the prices this year?
Well, our 2 horses this year, Dean Rock is 13-8. Killian O'Connor is 7-2, and then Paddy McBearty is next in at 7-1. Geaney 12s and Brennan 14s with Conor McManus.
Right, I'm going to kick off here, lads, because this is ridiculous. How is there such a gap between Dean Rock and Killian O'Connor in the market? I know Killian has had a couple of injury doubts, but you have to remember that he has been the Championship top scorer for 4 of the last 5 seasons. And I know obviously it was ridiculous how many games he got last year and all the draws in Mayo's trip to the All-Ireland final. But he scored 366 last year. Dean Rock obviously won it in 2016. Killian O'Connor won it in 2015 with 334. He won it in 2014 with 536. And he won it in 2013 as well. Now, I know obviously on occasions they have gone through the qualifiers, but this new Super 8 system, 7-2 Mayo, who are guaranteed to get there just as much as Dublin are, in my opinion. I think there's too much between Killian O'Connor and Dean Rock in the market. Damien Fitzgerald, discuss.
Well, you said guaranteed. Now, Mayo aren't guaranteed to get to the Super 8s, I would say. So
Damien, come on.
They're very lucky to get back into the quarterfinals last year, looking at it, and like that is where the difference in price comes. Like Dublin are actually guaranteed to get into the Super 8s and probably further, whereas Mayo might have a little less games. The one I kind of, it's a kind of a fool's errand tipping against the top 2, but we do have each way quarter the first 3. I think McBrearty, the third in, has a decent chance. Like Donegal around the weaker side of the Ulster draw, so he could get 4 games in Ulster, and if they made the Super 8s after that, and like he's a lad that can score 9 or 10 points any days he goes out, so I think McBrearty has a chance as well as the top 2.
Joe, make some sense of this Championship top scorer market for us.
Yeah, I just think it's pretty simple. Dean Rock, get on, lump on. I just think Dublin will win games by that much in the Leinster Championship, especially. Dean Rock, the best free taker in the country. I'd say he's close to 90% on his free taking ratio. Plus, he's scoring goals from last year as well. So if he's scoring goals and getting the scores he's getting from open play, I just don't think anyone will touch him this year. His confidence is only increasing. And, you know, with Mayo, I don't fancy him to go as far as people expect him to go, as Damien was saying. So I think Dean Rock, I think there's no one will get near him this year.
All valid points, lads, but completely wrong, because Killian O'Connor will be the Championship top scorer, and 7-2 with Paddy Power is a cracking price. So now, folks, it's time for our best anti-post bet of the Football Championship. Paddy, I'm going to throw my 2p worth into the hat here, and I'm hoping you're going to agree with me. I think that Mayo are absolute certainties, and that the 2-point handicap could be obliterated. Thanks, Jack. Producer Jack has found that clip from last season, and of course Mayo did not just obliterate the 2-point handicap, but they were actually beaten in the match, which was obviously very frustrating from my point of view. So Joe Sheridan, your best anti-post bet for the Football Championship is?
Galway.
Galway to win the All-Ireland at what price, Damien?
14s.
Okay, Galway to win the All-Ireland Football Championship 14-1 is Joe Sheridan's best bet of the championship. Damien Fitzgerald?
I've mentioned this already. Tip at 7-4 to reach the Super 8s.
Okay, Tipperary at 7-4 to win the Super 8s, and I'm going to stay loyal to Mayo, and I'm going to say Mayo -1 against Galway in the Connacht Football Championship at 11-10 with Paddy Power. I think that is, instead of backing them to win the Connacht Championship at 5-4, back them at -1 to beat Galway in the first round of the Connacht Championship. Now, Joe, before we let you go, obviously you're a football connoisseur, but you do follow the hurling as well. Who do you fancy to win the All-Ireland Hurling Championship?
I'd probably look at Tipperary. Probably was one of the best teams, obviously, in the league, and they were probably unlucky. So I'd be fine. Like Kilkenny, people weren't expecting them to go as well as did in the league. You've obviously got Cork to come through as well. Galway, obviously. But I think it's Tip's year this year. They probably have failed the last couple of years to get to probably where they need to be. So I just think, the players are hitting form as well in the league. So I think Tipperary now will win the hurling championship this year.
So it's a Tipperary hurling Galway football double for Meath legend Joe Sheridan. That's it for part 1. My thanks to Joe Sheridan on all our football chat, and in part 2 we'll be joined by Kilkenny legend John Tennyson.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new, fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the first GAA Postcast of 2018. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and for part 2, I'm joined by Damien Fitzgerald from our sponsors, Paddy Power, and we are welcoming a Kilkenny legend. Yes, the heart of the Kilkenny defence for so many years. 3 All-Ireland titles, 4 Leinster titles, 2 National Leagues, and most importantly of all, a keen racing fan. Welcome along, John Tennyson. John, how are you?
Not too bad, Dave, not too bad.
Now, obviously, you're a Kilkenny man through and through. You had some great days in the Cats jersey, some fantastic times. Is there one highlight that stands out for you?
Look, I suppose 2006 was my first All-Ireland, and there had been a mini famine in Kilkenny. We hadn't won one for a couple of years, and Cork were going for 3 in a row. So, September 2006 would have been the highlight for me. But look, they're all brilliant. At the time, I suppose we were nearly in it every year, and you can't take it for granted a little bit. But looking back now, it was great to be involved with such a great team. Brilliant time, brilliant period. Great to be involved in it.
I love the way you said there was a mini famine in Kilkenny. Even that lasts about 6 months, does it?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think in Kilkenny here, hurling is I suppose everyone knows is number one, and I think as Brian Cody says himself many times, if you don't win in All-Ireland, it's a waste of a year. And I think all the players and maybe the supporters would, at that time anyway, would think the same. I know that it's maybe a little bit different now. There's a little bit of a rebuilding project going ahead, but I'd say deep down now, the boss man thinks himself that they'll be bang there come whatever it is, the middle of August this year.
God, we've wasted a lot of years in Meath, so if a year is wasted if you haven't won All Ireland. Okay, lads, it's the start of a new hurling championship, obviously a hugely exciting time. The new championship structure, Damien, is it an improvement, and do you think we will see more exciting action in 2018 than we did in 2017?
I think it's an improvement, definitely. Like, as a hurling fan, you want more hurling games, and we're going to get so many great games over the next month. Just looking through it, really, you can't wait, because when you look at games like Clare playing Limerick on the last day in Munster in Cusack Park, if there's anything riding on that game at all, it's going to be a massive occasion. You get so many games. We want to see the top teams play the top teams, and that's what we're going to get. And whoever wins the All Ireland, as I was saying to football as well, they're going to earn it this year. They
certainly will. And we're going to kick off with provincial championships chat. And Damien, can we have some prices on the Munster Hurling Championship, please?
Tip at 6-5, Cork at 4-1, Waterford 5-1, Limerick 11-2, Clare 6-1. So Tip just out in front, and then everyone else pretty similar prices.
John Tennyson, this Tipperary team, it divides opinion like none other. I think everybody thinks they are the most talented group in the country, but can they finally put it all together in 2018?
Well, look, listen, they won the Ireland 18 months ago, 2016, and last year they were within the semi-final last year was a brilliant game, and they could have went either way. But look, they seem. You'd just be worried about. Ronan Maher was centre back 2 years ago, had a brilliant year, All-Star, and now it looks like they're not looking at him centre back. Cathal Barrett, corner back, they're looking at him midfield. The spine of the defence is a big worry. James Barry has done well there, but he's be a lot more comfortable out the field, and you just wonder. Do they really know their best team, especially up to the spine of the defence and maybe up to the middle? Definitely they have the talent. Shamie Callanan back, look at a full forward line of Ford, Callanan and John McGrath is serious ammunition. And
you wouldn't fancy marking one of them, I'd say?
No, you're talking about Liverpool's front three. Those three would be the top three in hurling. They remind you of the Liverpool front three in terms of goal scored.
Who'd be Salah? Shamie Callanan would have to be Mo.
Callanan is brilliant, and there's been some consistent there the last 5 or 6 years. But the problem is in the league final, look, they came down to win that game. I think for Tipperary supporters, must have been so disappointing. In the second half, literally, the Kenny half-backs were winning puckouts uncontested. It was unbelievable at times, and they really need to get Bonner Maher and Dan McCormack in that team to provide that bit of steel and ball-winning ability to feed the inside line. But look, there is question marks there. Often a bad defeat could crown a team, and they could really come together. But you'd just be wondering, especially the full back would be the big one for me. The James Barry is not, he's not a natural full back, and he's far more comfortable out the half back line. And you just were wondering, look at this level, you can't have any weaknesses, and everyone needs to be completely watertight, and that'd be my only little worry about him. But definitely, look, they're distant contenders. They have to be.
And do you think they'll win the Munster Championship, John, or do you think there's value elsewhere?
I was just looking at it last night. They're 5-4, and it's 4-1 to field. Like I don't know. To me, that's not right at all. Look, they should be favourites, but no way should they be. They shouldn't be that tight at all. Munster this year, the championship is going to be absolutely. To think that out of the 5 teams, that 2 will be gone. 2 of those teams will be gone by the first weekend in June, and I mean. Whoever 2 teams go, I don't think anyone could be shocked even if it's Tipperary. It's just that competitive. Listen, there's value there. So listen, Limerick, like Limerick or whatever they are, 11-2, 6-1. I think they're definitely value. They're coming there the second year with the management team in place. They have an Empiric contingent back. They have a couple of very, very good under 21 teams going back the last 3 or 4 years. And I think that they have the panel then that's capable of going through that 6-week spell. They would be for value-wise, they would be my idea of a value bet. But look, listen, Munster is so competitive there that I don't think you could be backing anyone in or out with confidence. But Tipperary at 5-4 would be bad value in my opinion.
Okie dokes. Damien, John mentioned there that Limerick were a bit of value at 11-2. The bet that interests me with Paddy Power is for Tipperary and Limerick to meet in the Munster final at 4-1. That could be a bit big, could it?
I wouldn't put anyone off at Limerick. Obviously very impressive during the league, and they've loads of players coming through. I probably just fancy Cork over them. I think Cork at 4-1. if you look at their fixtures, Cork, they've Limerick and Clare at home, and then they've Waterford and Thurles and Tip and Thurles, so they won't mind those fixtures. I think they're good fixtures for them, and if they play Tip in the Munster final as well, the game will be in Cork. So I think Cork at 4-1 would be my shout in Munster this year.
Yeah, and this Cork team, it is coming together nicely. Like, I suppose there was a bit of a blip last season, but they do have a lot of young talent coming through, and another 12 months under their belt. They're to be feared.
Yeah, I think definitely. Like, if you look at the Cork forward line, it's probably the one forward line you could put up there with Tip and Galway, and there's so much talent around forwards and midfield. Of course, the question is always going to be their backs, but if they can just tighten up a bit, like, they're always going to put up a score. So I think they've a very good chance in Munster this year, Cork.
Okay, doke. So it's Cork for Damien Fitzgerald, and it is Limerick for John Tennyson. So moving on to the Leinster Championship, Damien, can we have some prices, please?
Evens Galway, 7-4 Kilkenny, 11-2 Wexford, 11s Dublin, and 50s Offaly.
John Tennyson, how good is this Kilkenny team?
Look, listen, from what we've seen in the latter end of the league, they're really coming together. Look, they're a very, very good team. There's no doubt about it. Tipperary came down that league final. It was a championship fair for a lot of it. And when the chips were down, Kilkenny had all the answers. And under typical Cody, they refused to lie in. And they're contenders. There's no doubt about it. Everyone thought last winter that there'd be a couple of years maybe of interchange or transition, but Cody has cast his net, and he's found players. He's definitely found 5 or 6 young players that have stepped up rapidly. Look, the big worry for Kilkenny and all Kilkenny supporters is that TJ Reid is so important. His performances this year have been absolutely outstanding. Without him, I would say we're not contenders. With him, we're contenders. He's literally, I've never seen, like, in my time, I've never seen one man have such an influence on a campaign that he has in this year's league. And if he keeps that going, Kilkenny will be very, very, very competitive. But yeah, they're a hell of a team, and they have Colin Fennelly, Paul Murphy coming back, Richie Hogan, former hurler of the year, if he can get himself right. I think everything is kind of coming together, and listen, Cody knows how to prepare a team to win a championship. I think they'll be there or thereabouts when the cup is being handed out in August.
Okay, John, Brian Cody better than anybody else, certainly better than me or Damien Fitzgerald. If you were to describe Brian Cody in 3 words, what would they be?
Look, I don't know that anybody really know Brian Cody about his immediate family. But anyway, from my complete single-minded, driven, obsessed with Kilkenny hurling and with winning, and with creating a culture of just being the best you can be in an environment where it's all about the every player, and it's all about the unity of a group rather than any dependent on any, I suppose, individuals or individuality.
Very interesting. He certainly is a legend, not just in Kilkenny but in Ireland. Damien Fitzgerald, can the legend that is Brian Cody bring another Leinster Championship at the very least to Kilkenny in 2018?
Leinster Championship, maybe. I couldn't see them win the All-Ireland. I thought in the league final, I thought Tip were very, very poor. Kilkenny played well now, but they rely an awful lot on TJ Reid, and as we get later in the summer, I think teams will really look to cut down TJ Reid as much as they can, and I'm not sure the rest of the players are there just yet. But they've come back again, and they're not gone away, and yeah, they're going to be there and thereabouts, and whoever beats them will have a hard match, but I just don't think they're really good enough to win the All-Ireland. Maybe win Leinster though.
Would they be your tip for Leinster?
No, I'd probably back Galway at evens, but I wouldn't have a strong opinion on it either way, to be honest.
Okay, so that is the Leinster Championship. No real strong opinion from the lads, but obviously they're going to have a strong opinion on the Liam McCarthy Cup. Who is going to win the 2018 All-Ireland Hurling Championship? Damien Fitzgerald from Paddy Power, give us some prices.
It's 11-4 Galway and Tip joint favourites. Then we've got Kilkenny at 4-1, Cork at 8-1, Waterford at 9-1, Limerick at 10-1, Clare 11-1, Wexford 14-1, and then 66 is Bar.
And from your point of view, obviously joint favourites Galway and Tipperary 11-4 at the top of the market. Is it worth backing those two coupled, or will you be taking them on?
Yeah, I wouldn't be against backing the two of them coupled. I think Galway would be the team I'd probably be more inclined to back. Tip, it's just hard to know, and it's hard to trust Tip. And I say that as a Tip man, but Galway 11-4. Yeah, I think just Galway. I think they have the team with the least question marks about them. I think it's probably a bit of an advantage for the Leinster teams as well. I don't think the likes of Galway have to be right up at 100% for the start of the championship in May, where the Munster teams maybe do. So Galway can come into it maybe a bit easier. They're guaranteed to be in an All-Ireland quarter-final almost, and at that stage I think they're the team with the least question marks about them.
Okay, very interesting indeed. John Tennyson, 11-4 Tipperary, 11-4 Galway, 4-1 Kilkenny, 8-1 Cork, 9-1 Waterford, 10-1 Limerick, 11-1 Clare, 14-1 Wexford, and 66-1 Dublin. Who wins the 2018 Lee McCarthy Cup?
I think Galway will put back-to-back titles. They've done it in 87, 88. I think they'll do it again this year. I think they're the best team out there. The monkey off their back last year. There were, this All-Ireland, the people of Galway and the players themselves under serious pressure to deliver, especially after changing the manager. And even last year in the All-Ireland, when Waterford got a couple of goals against the run of play, it looked like they were coming under a cloud again. But they had the panel, they had the players to come on and get them over the line. And I think this year, I wouldn't mind the league. They're back late. They're on a holiday over Christmas. Every other team was back here in November. Don't mind the league. They have at least 8 forwards, 6 of which are well over 6 foot. All very good in the air, all brilliant hurlers. They tick all the boxes. They're up the middle. They're so strong. And I think with that monkey off their back and with that mental, I suppose with that initial win, they can be more comfortable in their own skins, and they're not dependent on any one man, not dependent on Joe Canning even. I think they're a serious team. I think they'll do it back to back. I think 11-4 is a great price. I think if you have 11-4 come the first weekend of August, you'll be sitting on good value. There'll be damn near even money at that stage.
Wow, big call from John Tennyson. 11-4 will become even money. It's a Galway love-in here on the racing, not even the racing postcast, but the GAA postcast. So it's Galway all the way. Moving on to the hurler of the year market. 11-2 TJ Reid, Joe Canning 12-1, 14-1 Seamus Callanan, 14-1 Austin Gleeson, 14-1 Jason Ford, and 20-1 Barr. John Tennyson, is this proof of how good TJ Reid is that he's 11-2 and it's 12-1 Bar?
Well, listen, if Kilkenny are going to win in Ireland, which are 4-1, TJ Reid is going to be a hurler of the year. So if you think about it that way, there's probably a bit of juice there at 11-2. He's just, as I said already, he's on a different level to any other hurler in the country at the moment. My only worry is, July, August is a long way away, and if he to maintain those standards is going to be very hard. 11-2, I suppose. There's a lot of runners and riders in this one. 11-4 is it wouldn't be my bit of value now. I'd be looking way down the line there. If I was just thinking about it. I don't know what price he is, but I think full backs are becoming scarce and hurling all of a sudden. I don't know why, but outstanding full back in the country for the last few years has been Dahi Burke. I think he's a brilliant hurler. He's very important to Galway. So if I'm saying Galway are going to win in All-Ireland, I would be imagining on the general run of things that Galway will have the hurler of the year. I think Dahi Burke for value. The whole unit is nearly built around him at the back. And if they do have a shootout, which say a Tipperary or Kilkenny, a duel with him maybe in Callan is going to maybe decide the All Ireland, and that's why.
We love our 33-1 pokes. 33-1. Dahi Burke to be hurler of the year for John Tennyson. Damien Fitzgerald, I like the sound of that.
I wouldn't put anyone off that. As Galway win the All Ireland, like, he's always going to be there, and he's best full back in the country by a mile, I think. I'll probably pick out a different Galway player at kind of a similar enough price. Conor Whelan at 22-1. He's just brilliant forward. Absolutely scores like 4 or 5 points every day he goes out. Could have probably maybe had a chance of winning it last year. I think through the league, from what I've seen, he's only improved. I think 22-1 Conor Whelan, where my money will be going in that market.
Okay, very interesting. I'm going to throw in Jason Ford at 14-1. And Damien, we've also got a young hurler of the year market.
Young hurler is a tight market. Richie Leahy is the favourite at 4-1. Then Mark Coleman at 9-2. Rory O'Connor from Wexford 11-2. Kyle Hayes and Dara Fitzgibbon both at 13-2. Seamus Flanagan in Limerick 9-1. And then Shane Kingston 10s and 12s bar.
Any of those tickle your fancy?
Dara Fitzgibbon at 13-2. If people want to look around, one of our competitors has a far bigger price on this. I just think I'm his biggest fan. I think he's a brilliant hurler at midfield. He's real in the engine room for Cork, keeps teams going, is well able to score. I just like him an awful lot, and as I was saying earlier, I think Cork will have a good year, and I think he'll be a key part of why, and I think 13-2 young hurler of the year is a good price.
So Dara Fitzgibbon at 13-2 young hurler of the year for Damien Fitzgerald. John, young hurler of the year, tricky enough market. Richie Leahy 4-1, Mark Coleman 9-2, Rory O'Connor 11-2, Kyle Hayes 13-2, Dara Fitzgibbon, Damien's fancy is 13-2, and Seamus Flanagan 9-1. Who do you like in this?
Look, Richie Leahy was the lad I had in mind. I think good ground is very important to him. To use the horse analogy, but I think he's going to be have a big summer ahead of him. Around the middle of the field, half-hour line. He's great pace. I think he's going to take off this summer. My only worry is he's a bit short there now, in fairness. But anyway, look, he'd be my tip. I think he will get to the semi-final at least, possibly a final. And I think he might be the man that would be the young man on the block this year for the Cats.
Okay, dokes. And moving on to the top championship scorer again, that man TJ Reid sits at the summit of the market at 5-2. Joe Canning 130, Jason Ford 130, Patrick Horgan 13-2, Aaron Gallan 10-1, Peter Duggan 10-1, Pádraig Mahoney 10-1, and 12-1 bar John Tennyson, who's likely to be the championship's top scorer.
See, the problem there with Ford is I'd imagine Cannon, if he comes back, it will be on the freeze. So I don't know.
Will he though?
I think he might. I think he will. I think he will. He's been on him for the last 4 or 5 years. Possibly Ford could stay on him, but I don't know. I wouldn't like to be taking the chance on the price. So that the other two would be lads I'd be going with TJ or Joe Canning. Either or, I think will be top scorer. Possibly Canning. Maybe, but look, I say TJ. You won't go too far on with TJ being top scorer. I think he's going to rack up a lot of scores once he stays sound.
Yeah, 5-2. There's probably worse favourites at 5-2 out there than TJ Reid to be top championship scorer. Damien, this is a market. I think I recall you over the last couple of years having this sussed.
I think TJ is very, very solid here. 5-2. The more I look at it, the more I think that might be a little bit big. You'd probably rather pick a player in Leinster than Munster. Just kind of, you'd expect Kilkenny and Galway to beat like Dublin and Offaly fairly handy, so put up big scores there. TJ is putting up massive scores all during the league. I think he's a very solid favourite at 5-2. If I was going to pick one of the outsiders, I think Peter Duggan at 10s maybe. If Clare can get through Munster, he was also putting up massive totals through the league. Takes the freeze and is goal threat as well. So if I was going to pick an outsider, Peter Duggan, but TJ is very solid, I think.
Okay, so we have a strong favourite in the top hurling championship top scorer market in the shape of TJ Reid. Now, lads, it's time for the best anti-post bet of the hurling championship.
Paddy, I'm going to throw my 2p worth into the hat here, and I'm hoping you're going to agree with me. I think that Mayo are absolute certainties, and that the 2-point handicap could be obliterated.
Yes, we all know that Mayo were beaten convincingly on that occasion last year. Hopefully we won't suffer the same fate in 2018. John Tennyson, your best anti-post bet for the hurling championship?
I suppose, listen, I'm not going to make it complicated. I think Galway win the All-Ireland 11-4. Definitely, that's an anti-post bet.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it simple. We like the simple strategy here in the Racing Post. Damien Fitzgerald, your best anti-post bet for the hurling championship?
Mine's a little bit less simple. It's Waterford to be in the bottom two in the Munster Championship. So Waterford to get knocked out of the championship in the group stages at 11-10. I just think they've no home games. Their fixtures look awful. There's players dropping off the panel. I'd be very much against Waterford. So 11-10 to be in the bottom two in the Munster Championship.
Okay, one simple bet and one extremely complicated bet, but we like both of them, and I'm going to put up Jason Ford to be the top championship scorer at 130. I think he's going to stay on the freeze, even if Seamus Callan is back or on the scene. And before we let viewers and listeners go, John Tennyson, I know you're a football fan as well. Who wins the All-Ireland Football Championship?
There's a lot of people talking recently that Dublin don't have the hunger and they're beatable. But you know what? I think they'll put 4 in a row together and they can nearly do 5 as well. Whoa,
there we go. It's a ringing endorsement for Dublin in the Football Championship from John Tennyson. So that's it from our All-Ireland Football and Hurling Championship anti-post preview. My thanks to Joe Sheridan, who took part in the football preview in part 1, and John Tennyson, who was our hurling expert in part 2. My thanks to Damien Fitzgerald from our sponsors, Paddy Power. I've been David Jennings from the Racing Post. Don't forget to listen every Friday for the next 12 weeks. You won't be disappointed.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet the next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.